Deshone Kizer is one of my favorite college football quarterbacks of all time, and he was supposed to be potentially the future of the Cleveland Browns. As we all know, that didn't exactly happen, and just a few years later, he's basically out of the NFL. So my question is, what happened to him? Well, today we will talk about the rise and fall of Deshone Kizer, and what went wrong for him in the NFL. But first, if you love college football or videos like this, be sure to subscribe to the channel and help me reach 6,000 subscribers by the end of August. Be sure to smash that like button, drop a video suggestion down in the comment section, and turn on post notifications so you never miss another upload. Now let's get started with what happened to Deshone Kizer. Kizer was born January 3rd, 1996 in Toledo, Ohio. At Central Catholic High School, Kizer was a very talented athlete and played multiple sports. He excelled on both the basketball, baseball, and the football team. Kizer was so good at football that one of the newspapers in the area said that he was, quote, the best quarterback to ever come out of the city of Toledo. He was looked at as an NFL quarterback playing in high school. His elite athleticism and talents in multiple sports would be the best thing that could ever happen to him, but it would harm his recruiting profile. Deshone was the number 14 pro-style quarterback and the 242nd best prospect in the class of 2014. Being a top 300 prospect and a consensus 4-star recruit is definitely pretty impressive, but had he solely focused on football, he would have been even better. Most elite level quarterback recruits commit 100% to football and don't play other sports, but Kizer still participated in basketball and baseball. In the end, Kizer was still invited to the prestigious Elite 11 quarterback camp, and he multiple offers from schools such as Alabama, LSU, Penn State, Tennessee, and Notre Dame. It looked like the main contenders in his recruitment were LSU and Notre Dame, and after visiting the Fighting Irish, he decided to cancel his visit to LSU altogether, and he would ultimately commit to Brian Kelly at Notre Dame. Kizer wasn't expected to do much early on in his career, but a few injuries and transfers would change the game. Deshone would redshirt his first year in South Bend, where he got to work with then quarterbacks coach Matt LaFleur, who was now the head coach of the Green Bay Packers. Going into his redshirt freshman season, he was going to be the third-string quarterback behind Everett Golson and Malik Zaire. After Golson ultimately left his troubles behind and transferred to Florida State, Zaire was named the starter and Kizer was now the backup. Zaire started the game against Texas and Kizer saw some time in that game too, but no one expected him to be the main guy. The next game was on the road against Virginia. Zaire got injured late in the third quarter, and the Irish found themselves trailing late in the game with a new quarterback. They would honestly need a miracle to win. With just a few seconds remaining, Kizer threw a perfect dime to star wide receiver Will Fuller, and the Irish would take the lead and win the game. After this moment, the college football world knew this kid was going to be something special. Kizer went on to win the next two games as a starter, and the Irish were thrusted into one of the biggest and most memorable games of 2015, the Clemson game. In hurricane-like weather, Notre Dame found themselves down 21-3 and were playing awful, but Kizer wasn't ready to give up yet. Clemson would jump out to a 24-16 lead, and with 7 seconds remaining, Kizer led his team down the field and they scored. It was 24-22, and the Irish would have to go for two. They elected to run the ball with Kizer, and he was stuffed at the goal line. Clemson would win the game 24-22, but Notre Dame wasn't done. The Irish would rally and kill both Navy and USC in their next two games before they found themselves in another huge primetime game against an unexpected opponent, the Temple Owls. The Owls were under head coach Matt Rule, who's now the head coach for the Panthers, and they were 7-0 and ranked number 21 in the country. The Halloween primetime matchup was the biggest game in school history to that point, and it lived up to the hype. The game remained close well into the fourth quarter before Kizer connected with Will Fuller to take a 24-20 lead, and the Irish would seal the win with a late interception. They would climb all the way up to number 4 in the polls after a win over Pittsburgh and Wake Forest before another late season test, this time against Boston College. The Eagles came into the Holy War game sporting the number 1 defense in the country, but that was no match for the Irish offense. They would go on to put up 477 yards, but after 5 turnovers, they found themselves in another close game. Boston College scored with just under a minute to go and found themselves one onside kick recovery away from a potential game-winning drive. To the luck of the Irish, they recovered the kick and took a knee to end the game. After a close win, the Irish dropped to number 6 in the polls and were set up for a top 10 showdown with Stanford. Win, and the college football playoff spot is yours and up for grab, and lose, and the Fiesta Bowl is going to be your destiny. The game certainly lived up to the hype, as it came down to one play at the end. The Irish took the lead 36-35 with just over 30 seconds to play, and all they had to do was make one last stop. With no time left, Stanford drilled a 45-yard field goal and won the game 38-36. Notre Dame's title hopes were gone, but they still had an intriguing matchup with Ohio State in the Fiesta Bowl. The Buckeyes would go on to win 48-28, and Notre Dame finished the season with a 10-3 record. As a college football fan, Notre Dame's season was one of the most exciting seasons I've ever witnessed because every game was thrilling. Deshone proved he was the man moving forward, and he had a fantastic first year. He would throw for 2,884 yards, 21 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions, while completing 63% of his passes. Expectations for Kizer and the Irish would be even higher for 2016, but things didn't exactly go according to plan. Notre Dame came into the season ranked number 10 in the country, and their first game was on the road against Charlie Strong's Texas Longhorns. In an overtime thriller, Tyrone Swoops led the Longhorns to a huge win where they proclaimed Texas is back. They bounced back with a win against Nevada before a top 25 showdown against Michigan State. They came up short to the number 12 Spartans, but it wasn't a horrible loss, right? Just like Texas, Michigan State went on to have an abysmal season, and the loss looked worse and worse each week. In what became the narrative of the season, the Irish dropped their next home game to Duke, and the Irish were officially in big trouble. They would right the ship with a win against Syracuse, but then they would drop two more close games to NC State and Stanford. The Irish were 2-6, and they would truly need a miracle to make a bowl game. They showed promise after a close win over Miami, but the season officially went to the trash can after they lost to Navy. To finish the year, they beat Army, they lost another close game to Virginia Tech, and got humiliated by USC on the road. It was a disaster season for them, but the team wasn't awful. In games decided by one possession or less, they went 1-7. If they just win half those games, they would have had a decent season, but nevertheless, the team just couldn't get it together, as they finished with a 4-8 record. This was the worst in the Brian Kelly era, and despite a lack of wins, Kizer had a great season. Projected to be one of the top quarterbacks in the 2017 NFL Draft, as he threw for 2,925 yards, 26 touchdowns, and 9 interceptions, while completing 59% of his passes. Kizer ended up declaring and joined a quarterback class that included the likes of Mitchell Trubisky, Patrick Mahomes, Nathan Peterman, Josh Dobbs, and Deshaun Watson. Most sources had Kizer as the 4th or 5th best quarterback in the class, while some sites had him as high as number 1. In general, him and Mahomes were considered the boomer bust quarterbacks of the class, and I think it's pretty clear which quarterbacks took what roles. Going into the 2017 NFL Draft, the Cleveland Browns were one of the teams in need of a quarterback. They had the number 1 pick and had their eyes on Mitchell Trubisky, but in the end they passed on him and took Myles Garrett with the pick, and they picked Michigan's Jabril Peppers and tight end David Njoku with their other first-round picks. With their second-round pick, they decided to take a gamble and hopefully draft their franchise quarterback in Deshone Kizer. He ended up having a really strong preseason, and he was named the Browns' Week 1 starter. In his first game against the Steelers, he threw for 222 yards and threw his first NFL touchdown to Corey Coleman. Like most rookies, Kizer struggled his first year and took turns starting with Cody Kessler and Kevin Hogan. To cap off the season, Kizer was the second quarterback in NFL history to lead his team to 16 losses, and the 2016 Browns officially became one of the worst teams in league history. In his rookie season, he threw for 2,894 yards, 11 touchdowns, and a league-high 22 interceptions. He also ran the ball for 419 yards and 5 touchdowns. To be fair, at the time, and still to this day, the Browns have one of the most dysfunctional organizations in the league, and I'm actually surprised he put up the numbers he did. Following the season, it seemed the Browns had already given up on him, as he was traded to the Packers for Demorius Randall and a swap of 4th and 5th round picks. His next opportunity would come as early as week 1 of 2018, as Kizer would fill in for an injured Aaron Rodgers. Sadly for Deshone, he only threw for 55 yards, and one of his passes was intercepted for a pick 6. Rodgers would return and win the game. His next opportunity would come in week 15 against the Lions, where he threw for 132 yards and interceptions, and the Packers were shut out 31-0. Kizer never won an NFL game as a starter, and he was 0-17. Going into 2019, Kizer was released by the Packers and picked up by the Oakland Raiders, but it's unlikely he'll ever get another chance in the NFL. Overall, I've never really been much of a Notre Dame football fan, but I really enjoyed the Kizer era, and that 2015 team was pretty special, and is one of my favorite teams of all time. It's sad to see how his career has played out, but you can't say he hasn't gotten his fair share of opportunities. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and if you did, be sure to smash that like button and let me know what you think down in the comment section. If you are new, don't forget to subscribe and help me reach 6,000 subscribers by the end of August. If you're still here, check out my video about what happened to Shea Patterson and all my other What Happened to College Football videos. Until next time though, peace.